Alright people, now it's time to add some more settings to the settings menu up here. Right now we can get, if you hover your mouse over the fretboard, you get the flat name. So this is E flat and F and G flat and so on and so forth. If I change the flats up here, just zoom in a little bit, to sharps and save that, I'm gonna get sharps instead over here. So C sharp, D sharp, F, F sharp, and so on and so forth. But wouldn't it be nice if we could actually do that from the menu up here? I think it would. So over here in our index HTML, we should add, I'm just gonna make this a little bit nicer. And we can, I think I want to add it in a div of its own. So let me make a div and let's give it a class of accidental selector. Like that. And inside here we want to have an input type of radio. And I'm just gonna give it a class because I'm gonna be using that later on. Gonna give it a class of it's ACC select for accidental select. And let's give an ID of, let's make the first one flat. And the next thing we want to do, we need a name for it as well, because we want it to be in the same group. So when you click on this one, it'll deselect the other one that we will create in just a moment. So let's call it accidentals. And the last thing we want to give it is a value. And let's say that flats is the standard thing, and because of that we also want to make sure that this is checked by default. So we're going to add a checked attribute like this. If I save that, you should see something showing up here. It's not pretty, but it's there. For that we should probably have a label so we can see what we're actually checking. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger like that. So I'm going to make a label for, that's for flats. And inside here, I think it's pretty cool if we can just use a symbol. So I just googled the symbols, sharps and flats. This is a sharp, so I'm just gonna go flat music symbol. And all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna grab this one, just copy it, and put it back into my label right here. So that's a flat. Oh, what's going on? Like that. So you can see it adds this one. So I'm gonna do basically the same thing for the next radio button. Just gonna copy this instead, and I'm gonna edit. It's still a type radio. The class is still ACC select, but here we want it to be sharps. And the name is accidentals because it's a group, so it's this one and this one together. And the values should be sharps. And we don't want this one to be checked by default, so let's remove this attribute right here. And then of course I want to add a sharp. So this one here, I'm just gonna copy this and I'm gonna add it over here. Just like that. I'm gonna save it, go back to the browser and see, well, something's going on here. It is not pretty. Let's space it out a little bit here. I am just going to go to the styles, and after the settings, what was it? Accidental selector. I think it was. Let's find out. I'm gonna add a margin on the left. And let's 20 pixels, something like that. Nothing happened. That's probably accidental selector. So it's accidental selector. I'm gonna save that, and it moves it out a little bit. So now we can change between these, but it's not doing anything yet. So let's try and add some event listeners to it. We can do that from our JavaScript. So let's go to our JavaScript, and down here we already have set up event listeners, but we need to get a hold of this one first. So accidental selector is the class name of the div. We're just going to listen for a click on the whole div here, and then we're going to determine which one we're actually clicking on. So let's go up here And let's right here, maybe before this one where we're grabbing the elements, I'm gonna make a new const, and I'm gonna call it accidental selector. And we're gonna grab that element. Document query selector. And what was it called? It was called this. Accidental selector. So now we got that. And then we can use it down here. We can add an event listener to it further down. So here in my setup event listeners, we are going to add an event listener. So that's the accidental selector we want to add it to. And add event listener. What are we going to listen for? Well, we're just going to listen for a click to begin with here. And what should happen? Let's find out. Just going to open up the callback function here. And we want, first of all, we want to get the event. So we can find out what's actually being clicked on. Then I want to only listen for an event if the clicked element has a class of ACC select, right? So the event is not going to fire when you, it's not going to do anything if you click, if you accidentally, if you, so it's not going to, oh my God, coffee. Only going to listen, we're only going to do something if it has a class of ACC select. We're not going to do anything if it has a class of this or this. So back here, we are going to type in a conditional. So if, and we want to check the event target, and we want to check the class list. And if that class list contains, if it has a class of ACC select, only then do we want to do something. We already have defined the accidentals variable up here, right? Sharps. So let's grab that one, and whenever it's sharps, we're going to set it to sharps, and whenever it's flats, we're going to set it to flats. So we're going to take the accidentals, and we're going to set that to the event and the target, and then the value, right? So when we click on one of these, and if it only if it has a class of this, we're going to set it to the value that is either flats or sharps. Does that make sense? Good. And then after that, we're probably going to be needing to set up the fretboard. So I'm going to set up, actually I'm going to go this because it's on the same object. Setup fretboard. But we still need to, like, if you're clicking on something that does not contain this one, then we just want to return. We don't want to do anything. So I'm just going to go in my else statement here. Just going to return like that. So that should probably work. Let's see if it works. Let's go back here and reload this, and I can see I'm in my sharps. That's weird. If I change this, it's sharps. Okay, so something is okay. Now it's working. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but now if you can see you have a G flat here. If I change it to this one, now it's an F sharp, C sharp, and now I have flats. So that's basically all for this video. Yeah, that was pretty easy. That was pretty simple. That's one way you can do it. There are other ways you can do it. You can add a change event on everyone, and then you can see if it's checked or not. But we just grab the value on a click, and there are different ways you can do this. But this one works, and let's continue in the next video. The next video is going to be pretty interesting, I think. We're going to add another setting up here that controls the number of frets, so we can decide how many frets we want. So that's it for now, and join me in the next video.